is the Panic Then Process podcast, where we find ourselves somewhere between clinical and chaotic, sharing lessons that we didn't learn in our academic textbooks.
We're two MACP Yorkville graduates giving their take on the program, practicum, and all things therapy.
I'm Izzy.
And I'm Karen, and this is Panic Then Process.
Hey everyone,
I,
happy episode 3 of Panic Then Process. We're so excited to be here. Thank you for being here with us.
woohoo! That's right. Very excited.
Yay! We are going to be talking about DQs today. So we're going to be chatting about the good, the bad, the hows to's with all the DQs. You come across DQs in it's your very first kind of graded item in the BPS, which is the first course. Um, yes, course. And then you see it through until basically practicum. So we have some
All
tips
the
for
way
you.
through.
Yes, they are relentless.
Mm-hmm.
We have some tips, some tricks, some thoughts on all of that. So we would love to share with you guys, very MACP specific. But before we do that, I just wanted to, wow, thank you all for showing up. If you're continuing to listen past the first 2 episodes, thank you. Wow.
Absolutely.
Um, yes. And also to say that we've had some really great engagement on our social media platforms. We've got our Facebook, Panic Then Process. We have our Instagram at Panic Then Process Podcast. We have yet to receive an email, but we are waiting with bated breath for feedback and encouragement and how-tos and tips from anybody and everybody. And you can email us at panicthenprocess@gmail.com. Um, and so in that line, we'd like to shout out our very first engaged person,
Yeah.
colleague,
Woohoo!
friend. Her name's Savannah. So thank you, Savannah, for being
Thank
the
you,
first to
Savannah.
offering a little bit of feedback and some guidance in our podcast. You're awesome. And there's a piece of this like community that we hope to build and continue to build
Mhm.
um, in this little corner of the internet with Panic Then Process that maybe feels like it's lacking and missing when it comes to the MACP program. Often,
Definitely.
be often because it's just that virtual piece, right? So thank you, Savannah. Thank you, everyone who's engaged and, done our polls on Instagram and shared and listened. We're so grateful, and it really kind of motivates us to keep going in our spare time to bring you a little corner of community.
Absolutely. We have the best supporters. It's been so cool to have such a warm welcome and so exciting for two, we're two Yahoo nobodies off the street, right? Who just
100%.
decided to jump in and do this because that community piece and the
Hmm.
knowledge piece, right? So to have it have such a warm welcome from all our people and also some people we've never even met in the MacP community is so exciting. Is so exciting. So thank you
Yes,
guys. It's awesome to be here. We're so excited to bring you this.
truly, truly. And so let's dive in.
Yeah.
Um, we're talking DQs. So oh my gosh. Karen, do you
DQs.
remember writing
Oh,
your first DQs?
I think I've blacked
BPS?
those out because they were so, so intense. They were probably the bane of my entire Yorkville existence. How about you?
Yes, I feel similarly. I remember sitting down to write the first one and just being like, how do you say anything substantial in what, 250 words?
Yeah.
Does that really matter? Do we really stick to it? Like, how strict are the profs on this? What are we being graded on? How much does it count? Like, all of these things are just whirling because it's your very first way of showing up in the program,
Yes.
and there's so much unknown.
Yeah, that can be really stressful. That's a great point. That concept of this is my first foray into
Mhm.
what people will perceive, what professors will see, my first kind of little tidbit of myself into this virtual Yorkville world. And especially when you're first starting out and everything is so new, it can be really nerve-wracking. Really
Mhm.
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and they've changed the platform now. It used to be something else when we did it. It's now, I think it's called Brightspace now.
Hmm.
Do you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. And so, but I remember like navigating the platform that was new to us at the time of like, how do you find the syllabus? How do you, and I mean, we can't give tips now on how to do that
Yeah.
because we
We'd
scraped
steer
out
you
without
wrong.
having to deal with Brightspace. So,
Yeah.
Thank goodness for us, and I'm so sorry for you guys because I've heard it's a bit of a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, I remember that like trying to get all the information and trying to do the best
Yeah.
in what you have. So we're normalizing that, we're bringing that into the space, and then we've also got some thoughts on it. So,
Yeah.
Karen, where do you think we should start?
Yeah, well, I think, that's one thing, to normalize it is so important because I think for so many of us through the program, DQs are so difficult. They're time consuming. They take up, they're minimal, that 200 words, but they're really time consuming. And so for a lot of us, it was kind of a dreaded one more thing to do on our plate, one more thing to get through, which is really hard. So you're not alone in that. Almost everybody I talk to, that's kind of the same wavelength we're all on.
Hmm.
And then at the same time, now that I'm through the program, and then, probably about, 3/4 of the way through, even though I was still struggling with getting everything done, as I'm sure we all are,
Hmm.
I really did find the value in it. I think it really did help to bring some of that knowledge home and really help us, for myself, anyways, kind of hone in on certain little specialty areas that I really wanted to learn a little bit more about in the course that I
Hmm.
wouldn't have had to otherwise. So there were some good things that came out of it. How about for you?
I love that you said that because I was going to circle back to that too. And it is that, yes, some of them suck genuinely, like are just feel like this is pointless. I'm never going to use this. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't relate, like for sure.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got to plow through. But there is a lot of opportunity to find that, like really responding to what you're interested in when it comes to the course.
Yeah.
And like your area of interest in terms of a modality, in terms of, cultural competence within those modalities, in terms of a specific niche. So I think that that would kind of be tip one, and that's like quite general, but this idea of like, getting in there, you get your feet wet, you get an understanding of, the stress in terms of writing them is kind of come back down to
Yeah.
baseline.
Yeah.
And from there, like a recommendation would be to really, read the question and then consider how you can get curious for yourself and what interests you to respond. Then you do
Hmm.
the research, then you do the readings, find something that aligns and bring that to the space that you can continue to build on.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great tip. So would you say, like, how did you do this? Did you think it was better to read all of the chapters and then go in? What do you think? How did you do
Hilarious, you
that?
should say that. I don't think I ever read all of the chapters, ever. Maybe BPS I read more than anything else, but yeah, call me a slacker, call me whatever you want to call me.
Oh,
I was trying to survive,
yeah,
okay?
totally.
As we all
Totally.
do.
Yeah.
And I
Get
think
through
that's
it.
part of it too, like in terms of like the DQs, like picking and choosing what you want to respond to in terms of them and also the
Hmm.
content. But I felt like that with the readings too. Like yes, I get a general idea, and some of them you had to, right? Assessments, some thinking, ethics,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
These things are like, is there anything really that's interesting in here for me? Like specifically, maybe not.
Right. But
Um,
paramount. Yeah.
but no, my strategy, which I think is a recommended strategy. I had a lot of peers who did it similarly, and that was to read the questions first. Read the questions, the DQ, whatever they're posing at you. Read those first and then do your readings, then do your research, because with that lens, you can focus in on, you can start to compile ideas for how you want to respond to it, as opposed to trying to remember 40 pages of reading and
Yeah.
3 articles and then coming to a question and going, oh yeah, what from those 40 fucking pages can I use in this response?
Oh, real. So
How did you do
real,
it? Did you
right?
do it differently?
Absolutely. Yes and no. Not really. In the beginning, I was a total keener and I was trying to do it all and
Mhm.
read everything and do it perfectly and all the things. And I
Mm.
think for a lot of us, like we genuinely have an interest in all these things we're learning about. That's why we're here in this field and in the program. So I was really interested in it. I tried, but it's not sustainable, right? Unfortunately. So yeah, it was way more stress inducing and I wasn't able to get everything done when I was trying to do that. So in the end, what I started doing was like Sundays were kind of my day to hopefully go through the readings and do what I could with everything. And then Monday I would I'd read the questions, the DQs and be like, "Okay, what's going on here? What do I need?" And then same thing. I'd kind of pick out which ones I wanted to, like where I wanted to go with my answer, I should say, what
Mhm.
kind of felt important to me. You go back to the text and do it that way, then, of course, as well, and research it that way.
Mhm.
And then when it came to answering, this
Mhm.
was really important. I wouldn't read through everybody's answer because I mean, there's
That
how
would take
many of us in a
you
class? Yeah.
forever.
Oh, just not feasible, right? Not even at all. Not for myself in the space I was and all of
Yeah.
the life that was going on at that time. And for those of you, if you're able to do that, fabulous. Air high
Wow.
fives. That's awesome, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. But it wasn't something I was able to do. So I would go and I would kind of go to whoever had answered me and I would answer them, or I would kind of read the first few and pick through and then pick something and go that way, which is
Mhm.
also important to talk about later how we answer those because there's a way to do it with a little bit of tricks. But yeah, so
Mm.
that's my long-winded way of saying that no, I did not read everything and do it all because there's just no way. There's no time.
I'm excited to hear your tips because I'm not sure if I ever had any for responses. Except for that, I would also for responses. So for those of you who are like, I don't like conceptually, logistically don't know what you're talking about. When you have like weekly, typically, you would have one or two, typically two, DQ questions posed to you by the prof. And then you would have to respond to it. And then typically you want to respond, and Karen, I might need your help. How many? Four? Three or four?
Four was ideal. Five was like max. Well, you could do seven
Yes.
if you wanted, but five was max. Four was the
For
sweet
grading.
spot.
Yep.
Three was minimum. That was just passing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you wanted to post at least your first on the Monday, and then you had to post by Tuesday. Some
Mm-hmm.
profs were a little more lenient, but the recommendation is to get your first post out on Monday or Tuesday. And then you want to space out your responses. The ideal is that you're not responding more than once a day because they don't want you just like going in and like pounding out the answers. They want you to kind of marinate on it and allow
Mm-hmm.
people to respond. So it really is like a 4 day thing. Truthfully, I would prep them ahead of time and
Me
then just
too.
go in and post them. Because by the time you get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's already so much content and so many different um, like conversations happening that you can pick out different things to respond to. And then I would just go that morning or that evening and post it because it's already been
Mm-hmm.
prepped and drafted. But I would say my other tip to responding is if there was something that I pulled from the text that I thought was interesting, but didn't necessarily put into my first post or even like subsequent ones, I would like control find in the text to find like the keyword or whatever to see if a thread had been started
Mm-hmm.
on XYZ topic to be able to then kind of jump on that bandwagon. You can start your own. I don't think that there was ever any negative repercussions from that, but I just think the more that you can kind of like respond and engage, the easier it is for you to write a response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What were your
Yeah.
tips and tricks for that?
So that's interesting because I agree with that. And then I think I did it a little bit differently. So my tips and tricks first off is have a template.
Mm,
I actually went to a first, I can't remember what it was, some sort of like resource meeting or intro meeting put on by a student. It was some
Hmm.
of the best money I've ever spent. It was pretty reasonable and it was fabulous. It gave me like an idea of what's expected in DQs, when to post, a template to use for them, all that kind of stuff, along with other kind of stuff. So if you have a chance to sit in on one, I would say it's worth it for myself, anyways. But that's up to you. So I had a template. I always did the date, whatever post number, and then I always started with, your greeting, hello, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and then you say something nice like, oh, I enjoyed your post, or how eloquent, or whatever, because we're also polite and professional in our Yorkville space. And then I would go down and I would write what I was going to write about. Now, if I was past the first post and I was responding to people, because you really should respond, you get like extra, I don't want to say extra marks, but in the rubric, you can see they like it when you actually do post to other people. So if I didn't have anything in response to someone, I would just respond to them anyway. So I'd say, dear Izzy, I enjoyed your post. This made me think about blah, 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 or whatever, XYZ. And then I would say underneath, additionally, blah, 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 and go off in my own tangent. Or this also is something I found interesting, or whatever. And then I do my own DQ. So that way, if you're not able to find something that kind of resonates with you to write about that somebody else has, or like you and I, Izzy, I had started and I'd kind of write all of my posts on the Monday or Tuesday if possible, or at least jot down ideas so that it was easier to write during the rest of the week because I just didn't have the time. And some days
No.
I didn't with kids' activities and all the things, right? And then I could go back in and I could pick and choose and respond to people. So I was still engaging, and sometimes it was with the actual content of the other person's answer. And sometimes it was another thought that kind of piggybacked onto it. So there's also a way to do it if you're not able to respond directly on the topic that someone is responding to.
I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's so valid because there definitely I can find myself times like hitting my head against the wall. I have like one more to write. It's Friday. I don't want to have to do this on the weekend. And I'm like, what in the world am I going to respond to? And so the way that you've drafted is like, hey, oh wow, really interesting. And I like the way you pulled in, blah, blah, blah in this answer. It made me think of or it brought to mind. And then a
Yeah.
totally seemingly separate thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you can ways to put them together. And then you're really just posting about what you wanted to post about.
Absolutely. And I cannot take credit for that. I have to say that was in that part of that little seminar meeting I went to before. That was one of their ideas of how to get through some of them if you couldn't respond to someone,
Yeah,
right? Because if you can, fabulous. But there are some days when there's just nothing that resonates and we're stretched and we still have assignments and papers to write. That's sometimes the way it has to go. And it's still valid. You're still synthesizing and cultivating and researching a topic that's within the discussion question.
100%. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I think that's a great tip.
And so you mentioned too that you didn't write them every day or like all in one day. Is that right? Did you space yours out? How did you do that?
Like write them, draft them, or write
Yeah,
them, post them.
drafting them.
Yeah, it would depend honestly on what was going on. I would typically do my first one, yeah, Sunday, Monday, depending on life, and then get it to posted. I was pretty good by getting it done Tuesday.
Hmm.
And then normally by Tuesday, you've had enough content of the first post that like Tuesday, Wednesday, I would draft a few and then have them ready to go and post like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then be done. I mean, again, this is like at the beginning, this is ideal. Certainly, there were times that it was like, I posted on Monday and it's now Friday, and I have to try to come up with a Friday, Saturday, Sunday post. That happens.
Hmm.
And honestly, if that's your vibe, that's great too. Like nobody says that at the end of the week it's less valid. It's definitely not. You do have a lot more content to sift through in terms of finding the thread you want to respond
Yeah.
to, potentially what hasn't been said, or not only what hasn't been said, but not kind of regurgitating it. Because sometimes it does end up being very like, okay, someone already said that, someone already said that.
Yeah.
And that's also sometimes the nature of the beast. I never had a prof come back and be like, you didn't come up with unique enough ideas. I think a lot of the time they want you to bring in the peer-reviewed articles
Yes.
too, right? They
Yes.
want you to bring those in. So I pretty consistently brought in text and one or two peer-reviewed articles in each DQ. And I think that that's pretty good practice. And I mean, I graduated with honors, not that that is me being fucking whatever.
No, own it. That's
Um,
great.
but just to say that, like, I did fairly well. And like, this is
Hmm.
how I did fairly well. And again, I wasn't like a true keener. I wasn't, you know, and because again, you have to balance life and with what you're learning and also take into account how applicable is this to my practice. CBT,
Hmm.
for example, I think I've said it and I'll say it again, is not for me. You had an entire course on CBT.
Hmm.
So like, did I coast through it? Absolutely. Did I pull out some things that I do, pieces I use? Absolutely. And still, you pull what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love that. I think that's really the name of the game at the end of the day, right? And if you are not interested in it, it's very difficult to write about. So whatever we can do to find little tidbits in whatever discussion question we're working on, follow that tidbit, follow that trail down the rabbit hole into what interests you, because it makes it a heck of a lot easier to write about, of course. Same thing. I think it's really important for marks, or this is what I was told in the from some of the professors in the beginning, was of course post for sure by Tuesday, and do not post on Sunday if possible. I've had to
Mm,
post on Sunday.
I
All of
never
us
heard that.
have. I know profs are so
Interesting. Yeah. Some and that's an important point too.
dependent.
It can be prof dependent
Yes.
for sure. Because I
So
know there was some profs who you post on Friday your first post and that's fine. But best practice and as per the rubric, you're gonna get some sticklers and they want you posting by Monday, Tuesday.
that's right.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had some profs who were
Good point.
not. Like there were definitely marks that were not awarded and they were not happy if you were not posting by Tuesday. So
Hmm.
to be on the safe side, if you guys can, definitely post by Tuesday.
Hmm.
And definitely before noon on Sunday, if possible. I had a prof who said they wouldn't count it if it was in the afternoon
That
on
is
Sunday.
so interesting. I
Yeah.
never heard that. That's interesting.
Well, that's good. So I was very had to be
Hmm.
very scheduled with it then. So again, very prof dependent, as we've talked about. Best practice, post on Tuesday. And then, so what I did was I would kind of jot down when I was doing my readings or when I was answering the first DQ post or reading some of the other DQ posts. I would jot down little ideas or little concepts that kind of resonated with myself. And then I would have kind of already a concept of what I wanted to write about for the other DQs, a few thoughts. So I really had to just put in the filler and do maybe a little bit of research. And you can also, and guys, I don't recommend this like immediately off the hop because it's probably not always the best practice. But by the end of the program, we were, I don't know about you, I'm sure you were too, but we were all drained, stacked with life, totally just doing our best to get through and
Yeah.
still learn, of course. But
Yes.
sometimes all the assignments and the course load can be difficult to actually do a lot of learning because you're trying to just slog through all the work.
True.
So, with that being said, that's my caveat. What I would do sometimes at the very end is I would reuse peer reviewed articles or I would pull out peer reviewed articles that other people would use and I would look and I would say, hey, okay, this is a great resource. This makes sense. I would find something else in there that resonated with me. So that way it does cut down on some of that extensive, time consuming research that can happen with DQs.
I'm actually really glad you said that because I think that that's a good tip across the board for the program. And that is like creating a document of
Mm,
reviewed resources
yes.
because there will be times and even like a reference sheet, like an ongoing reference sheet
Yeah,
of
I
the
totally had one of
textbooks.
those. Yeah, way
Yeah.
easier.
Because like you're gonna reference Shabib in when it's introduced, and then you're also gonna do it in your very last case conceptualization. So like you might as well keep that reference handy. So I would like create a document twofold. One of your references, just the actual references that you would put in your bibliography.
Yep.
And then another document of resources that you're coming across as you're doing your DQs in specific courses, perhaps in like course blocks,
Yeah.
and highlighting things that were interesting to you, that you feel you could carry forward, knowing that, cultural competence is always going to show up. Um, Different pieces like this to be able to say, yeah, okay, like I remember this one read, it was really interesting. Now I have to go try to find it, forget it.
Yeah.
So keeping a document, and that can be consuming too. So not everything, but different pieces that you're pulling. Use your discretion, obviously. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that that would be a good tip too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. As you said, we reference so many of the same things over and over and over again in different courses and different assignments. So, having something you can copy and paste is a lifesaver,
Hmm.
and something that's correct, right? Of course,
Hmm.
referencing is a huge part of it. So that's a big thing. That's a great point. And then also there are like search engines and or websites or whatever that help you with referencing.
Yeah,
That
true.
that can go in and do it for you, or that you can kind of copy and paste and figure it out. Or um yeah, I'm thinking here Sci-Hub. I love Sci-Hub. I use Sci-Hub
Never.
all the time. It's like a search engine for scholarly articles, and
Mm.
they're all free if they're on there. And it
Hmm.
also gives you the APA 7 reference. So, little
Yes.
trick, go to
That
Sci-Hub. It was a
is, that
lifesaver.
is, yeah.
Or Google
I wish,
Scholar, same thing,
I wish I would have had that. And I'm also bringing to mind,
but double check it because sometimes they're wrong.
yes, yes,
Always
and that's
double
what I was going
check.
to say. Even the library, I know in the library you can, God, now to remember how, you can get the APA reference through the library. They auto generate it. And that was a lifesaver,
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time correct, but you always want to double check because sometimes it wouldn't pick up first and last name differentiation. Sometimes they're listed differently. So you always want to double check. But to just get like the core components of it off of a website,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
And the library also had, and I don't know if it's changed now, it's been a while, of course, since we've been in it, but the library had a little section where you can also save articles. So they're easier and
Yes.
quicker to go back to, which was helpful sometimes.
Good point.
And then one thing I did want to mention too is Owl Purdue. I use that a lot. So I had the APA 7 referencing book, which I used occasionally.
I did too. Yeah.
But I bought that right off the hop because I'm a keener and wanted to do it right, and that was very scary because I was used to a totally different referencing format for my undergrad degree.
Mm.
But Owl Purdue, if you Google Owl Purdue APA 7, I use that constantly
Hmm.
throughout the program for whatever reference or paper writing template format all the time. So it was really helpful if you don't
Hmm.
already use that. Hmm.
Great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You think I have, I'm looking around to see if I still have the APA book. I think I had it too. And it's because you're going to come up with odd things too, right? You might reference a YouTube video. You might
Mhm.
reference a podcast. Maybe you're going to put our podcast. Could you imagine? You're going to reference our podcast and put this in
Woohoo!
one of your DQs. Wow, what an honor. If anyone ever does that, we must know. I'm not sure how in any context that it would be relatable, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened, I'm sure. But
Email
you're
us.
gonna,
Email us.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We must know. Let us know. Um, but oh shit, what was I gonna say? Oh, you're gonna come across weird referencing things. So like
Yeah.
sometimes having that book or having that resource that's trusty and you know that it's correct and it's easy to digest, because I think that's part of it too. Sometimes the websites are like, this is fucking confusing. I still can't
Hmm.
figure it out.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Um, yeah. I think that's anything else on referencing or DQs generally. I feel like we've taught. touched on a lot of the topics.
Yeah, yeah. I think let's see here. One thing, oh, the actual Yorkville like bright space or whatever it is,
Sure.
sometimes too like check those references because sometimes you can just copy and paste right from there. That's what I did sometimes.
Like from the
And
syllabus.
yes, from the
Mhm.
syllabus and from whatever like the DQ question is, and they're correct. Again, double check them, but typically they are because they're in the APA
Yeah,
7
they're not
format
trying to
from the
trick you.
professor or the school. Yeah. So that was really helpful.
Hmm.
One thing I did that I found easier to keep track of everything is I had a running document of DQs for the week and I kept them all together. So I had one Word doc, I had my template that I always used, and then I would copy and paste whoever's answer, put it in the document, just so I had to like for ease of reading to answer the question.
Hmm.
Underneath, I would start my response using my template. And then it's way easier to read it, to keep and running track of what you've talked about, what you haven't talked about, and then of course your little referencing for your next DQ post you want to do. And it's way easier to copy and paste any references that you
Hmm.
used before or that you're constantly using into your answer.
Great point.
Otherwise, it's just constantly searching.
Yeah. Yeah, I did something similar. I did it for the whole course. I had a document for the whole course for
Wow.
document for
Yeah.
DQs. So I would have like the header, like the DQ week one. So one, question one, response one, and then,
Hmm.
so on and so forth. One, two, three, four. And I kept them all in the same one so that if there were similar concepts that I wanted to kind of like, what did I say previously? What's something new that I want to say? What reference did I use? I could go back. I never put other people's work into it, just because I was like, once I had an idea, I truly didn't care what they said. I just kind of got
Oh,
the idea and off I went.
absolutely. You just getting it
Um,
done.
yeah. So I did, yeah, I did that too. And I think that's where my thought about keeping a running reference list is coming from, that, you know, even once you've done that, like to have to go through all of your DQ writing to find a reference for the final paper. Oof,
Oh
what a pain
yeah.
in the ass. You might as well just
Absolutely.
put it on a document. And then if you're going to go back to it, great. If you're not, then
Yeah,
no harm, no foul. You've just copied and pasted. You haven't lost any of your time. Um,
definitely.
Good tip with that one too. Yeah,
Yeah.
to keep a runner of it.
One thing I found too helpful is as I was doing the readings, so I would read the DQ question and then I would do the reading sometimes. And so that helped me have an idea of what to be looking for in the readings, what
Totally.
they wanted us to kind of hone in on. And
Hmm.
then so I used a lot of virtual textbooks. And what I would do is I would copy and paste from the textbook. I wouldn't use that in my DQ, but I would
You're
copy
not
and paste
recommending
it.
plagiarism to our
No,
listeners?
I think we talked about this before. It's not a good idea. I never plagiarized and I don't recommend it. Not a good idea. But I would copy and paste into a separate document, like my DQ doc, just so and the page number where I found it at, just so that I had that reference there to jog my memory when I went back to write it. To go, oh yeah, this is what I want to write about. This is the page it's on when I want to fill it in and find more information. So that was easier to search through the like how many pages of chapters we had to do for each week.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good tip too with the virtual textbooks. And I had some paper. Some of them I didn't even open. We've already discussed that about
I
me
love
and
that.
and my life. But um that is also the beauty of a virtual textbook because you can also control find, right?
Yeah.
Find the specific word, find the specific concept that they were talking about in your DQ. Whereas paper, you can't do that. Paper, you have to
Yes.
skim, you have to look at headers, you have to,
Yeah. Go to the
which
index.
is
Yeah. Hmm.
again fine too. All of it's good. Read the whole
Yeah.
textbook, read parts of it. Ultimately, there's no way, and I think we talked about this previously, like the journey of this master's, a lot of it is like your own growth and your
Hmm.
own finding your own direction. So like,
Yeah.
is anyone completing this program and taking everything they quote unquote should be taking from each course? No. Like some of the courses I don't even remember. Like I genuinely don't even remember the content, don't remember the paper, don't remember anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just the reality. Doesn't make
Oh,
me a bad therapist or a bad student or a bad person. It just truly is the reality.
totally. And I think, like while we're like those foundations are still there and they're important and they're good, and we go through it and we learn it and we synthesize it and we integrate it and all the big professional Yorkville words they want us to use.
Mhm.
And then it's also kind of like, when you're a kid and you're doing like math homework or whatever, or science or social, do we always remember, like, I don't know, algebra from high school or whatnot, for example, right? When we're older, how to do long division the exact specific way or whatnot. No, then when we need it, we come back to it and we do it again if we need to or whatnot, right? So that's a very normal part of being a human being, I think, in
Totally.
my opinion. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, again, some of it also comes back to how you learn. Like I learned by doing. So skills was awesome. Loved skills. Interventions was awesome. Loved it because I was doing it, right? And I got
Yeah.
feedback from doing it. And that's just how I learn best. So yeah,
Hmm.
I've learned things. And also having that like conceptual, oh yeah, that was kind of mentioned. Let me do some research on it to support my clients nowadays.
Yeah,
Great, that's what I do. But to
exactly.
have to carry that for like 2.5, 3+ years into the
Yeah.
practice, it's just not realistic.
No, no, especially with all of the trainings, the modalities, everything else that comes after the program that we really get into, and as a therapist you start really honing your skills and in that mode, right? There's just only so much bandwidth where it's there, but it's not at the forefront all the
Yeah.
time every day. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think largely we're saying give yourself credit, give
Yeah.
yourself grace.
Yes.
Know that, if a week you can't get to all the readings, if a course you can't get all to the readings, and you're showing up the best that you can show up, and you're doing your research, and you're taking away something of interest for yourself, taking away a piece of learning, you are doing the damn thing. Like you are
Hmm.
doing the
Yeah.
math, right?
Yes.
Like that makes you good, period.
Yeah.
Not even good enough because you already are. You are good,
Yeah.
period.
Love that.
Um, So I think that, and then I've just jotted, if anyone's watching on YouTube, you've seen me looking down. I just jotted down some of our tips to summarize them a little bit. First one is the choosing something, an interesting topic of yours, choosing, when it comes to responding, really looking from this lens of what would be interesting for me to learn in the context of this, i.e. CBT, right? Can CBT work with animal therapy? Right? Is there an off branch of that, right? Oh, that's really interesting to me. Maybe I can put that into a DQ, for example. Read the question. If, again, if you're crunched for time, read the DQ question and then read the textbook or pull out pieces from scholarly articles and the text to support your answer. Control find when it comes to responding, having a template has been a recommendation. Draft them for the week coming. So if you've got the time on Monday night, pound out a few, draft a few up so that you can post them later, but you have a little bit more breathing room in the
Yeah,
end of your week.
absolutely.
And then I think ultimately we were saying check in. I mean, we talked about referencing too, for sure. Tips on that. What did you call it? Sci-Hub?
Sci-Hub. Yeah.
iHub,
Sci-Hub.
your
Google
your
Scholar.
library, Google Scholar,
Free
right?
resources.
Finding references out OWL Purdue, using your APA.
Hmm.
And then I think above all, we're saying check with your profs, right? Like
Yeah,
Karen
always.
was saying she had a prof that afternoon on Sunday wasn't gonna fly. I never encountered that. Sometimes, like I said, I could post on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and really not have a detriment to my grade. But ideally, they want you posting Monday, Tuesday. So check in with your prof. Sometimes they're okay with you going over the word count. I always tried to avoid that because the rubric says, so if
Hmm.
they ever said, oh, well, you know, yeah, it's fine for me, but then my next prof wants me to condense it more, it just keeps it uniform. right?
Absolutely.
But ultimately, if your prof is saying, yeah, I don't mind a couple over, doesn't really impact the grade, fine, run with that too. So check with your profs because it's very prof dependent.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Any
And
last thoughts or?
oh, I think one, like big deep breaths and know
Mm,
that you're not alone in the dread
mhm,
of DQs and the difficulty of managing DQs and coursework and
mhm,
assignments and life and all the stuff. And then at the same time, there's some great strategies here we've learned. And I wouldn't even say they're cheats, they are strategies. That's
mhm,
really important just to getting the most out of everything and to getting the most out of your time. And then the next thing, man, you guys celebrate because you're going to be done soon. At some point, there's no more DQs in the program. And you'll look back and go, oh, those were like really exhausting. And actually, I kind of learned something out of it.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this growing trend. I'm not sure if you did this, Karen. I'm not even sure if you have this out there. That's how, I guess, naive I am to this. But there's this growing trend of like going to DQ, like Dairy Queen, and getting a Dairy Queen ice cream when you've submitted your last DQ.
Yeah.
Like this like celebratory, like last DQ, I've got my DQ. I never did it, but I know friends that did it, got together and did it. Because I finished a little bit earlier because I did double up and then took a break before practicum. So you finish your DQs before you hit practicum. Practicum, there aren't any
Yeah.
DQs.
Unless they've
Um,
changed that. But yeah,
True.
no
Yeah.
DQs in practicum. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
And so celebrating it, I think, is a really awesome
Yeah.
reminder that, yeah, there will come a time when they're no longer.
That's right. One foot in front of the other. Yeah,
That will be fine.
absolutely. And
And
celebrate the
celebrate.
heck out of that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think that that's all we have to say about DQs. Let us know if there's anything specifically that you felt like we missed or any other tips now that you're kind of stepping into it or doing it that you'd like some thoughts on. We'd be happy to do that. And to
Absolutely.
close us down, I'm Izzy,
And I'm Karen.
and this is Panicked in Process.
Bye.
Bye.